welcome back to this series on nutrition. It's not really a series, is it? It's not quite as good as Afterlife on Netflix. But anyway, so today then is back with nutrition, and today it's talking specifically about protein. So protein is a huge component of fitness according to the media and according to everybody you'll ever speak to. So it's important to kind of break it down to its, why do we actually need protein? Aside from just associating protein with big bodybuilders, it is actually important for, living and human existence. So basically, to kind of, again, break it down, protein is made up of smaller molecules known as amino acids, and we are literally made of proteins. So, enzymes, antibodies, hormones, all them kind of things that are, that comprise, no, that is not the right word, that are within our body, are made of proteins, and therefore we need to consume protein in order to constitute the protein within our body, and obviously things such as muscle, smooth muscle, cardiac muscle, skeletal muscle. The list is endless. So then why do we need proteins? Basically, as mentioned, protein is made up of amino acids, and there are 9 essential amino acids that we can only get from the diet. So don't let this put you off. It can get quite sciencey, but I'm not going to delve right into it. But basically, proteins are made up of amino acids, and the reason we eat protein isn't for protein, it's for the amino acids. But protein is basically like the next step up from the amino acids. And these 9 essential amino acids cannot be produced in the body, so we need to get them from the diet. So therefore we need to eat protein in order to supply our body with these essential amino acids. And basically the amino acids that we get from the protein will then be used in the body where needed. So with regard to fitness then, so if you are resistance training, which is just weight training / any kind of adding any form of resistance progressively to your body, you want about 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. If you're in a deficit so if you're dieting such in a deficit, you probably want a high, probably want about 1.2 grams of protein per pound of body weight, because when you're in a deficit, you're in a catabolic state, and therefore you're essentially, burning your cells, and therefore you don't want muscle loss, so it's better to increase your proteins. Your body uses the protein rather than burning your muscle for energy. So for example, for a 150-pound individual, you'd want to consume about 150 grams of protein, which is nice and simple. And protein is responsible for muscle repair and growth, and therefore eating adequate protein is important for muscle growth and recovery from training. So specifically, if you're training hard and you're not eating adequate protein, your recovery is going to be shite. So, definitely don't do that. And as well as that, eating enough protein ensures that you maintain the muscle you have. So, obviously, when I'm filming this, we're currently hitting the the current pandemic, and everyone's stressing about not being able to train like as hard and as heavy as they can at the gym. They're worried about losing muscle, and if you're just eating an adequate amount of protein and you're still moving your body, even if it's just a walk, you're not going to lose any significant amount of muscle. Like, could you imagine how awful we would be as a species of humans if we didn't go to the gym for 2 weeks and we just lost all of our muscle? We'd literally die out, and we would have been ruled by tigers. So anyway, that was a tangent. But basically, as we age, muscle dystrophy occurs, which is basically the loss of muscle. So muscle atrophy is the gaining of muscle, muscle dystrophy is the loss. And remembering that muscle is not just our skeletal muscle, for example, our biceps, quads, glutes, whatever. We also have smooth muscle, cardiac muscle, such as the heart, intestines, etc. Therefore, in general, it's important to eat enough protein, because as you can see, protein constitutes such a huge part of human existence, so it's very important. So then protein quality, so basically there are 2 types of proteins. There's complete proteins, which basically contain all the 9 essential amino acids, and there are also incomplete proteins, which don't contain all the essential amino acids. I'll be going over this in a minute, don't worry. So I guess most importantly, well, does this matter? Well, not really. So the best kind of guidelines / kind of way I follow it is just try and get the majority of your protein via complete sources. For example, aiming for 3 servings of complete proteins. For example, breakfast, eggs, lunch, chicken, dinner, beef, for example. So then examples of complete proteins. So basically all animal proteins are complete, which makes sense when you think about it. For example, if you're eating a piece of steak which has come directly from the muscle of a cow, then obviously that's going to contain all the essential amino acids, because in order for that cow to make that muscle, it needed the essential amino acids, if that makes sense. So you're basically getting all the raw materials from that cow. Same with any proteins that come from animals, such as eggs, dairy, meat, fish, not just cows. And also plant-based ones such as buckwheat, soy, and hemp seed. If you're a vegan/vegetarian, you will struggle to get more complete proteins, but I will be going over that in a second. Example of incomplete proteins then, so beans, nuts, tofu, trace proteins. So if you're eating, let's say you're eating some bran flakes and it says it's got 7 grams of protein per 45 grams. I completely made that up, but that might be right. I don't know. That isn't a complete protein. That's like a trace protein, so an incomplete protein, because it doesn't have all the 9 essential amino acids that we need to get from our diet. So then what you can do, for example, if you are a vegan/vegetarian and or if you struggle to get complete protein sources in, you can basically combine incomplete proteins together, which will essentially give you a complete protein. So if you're combining loads of, it says 22 amino acids in total, and you're combining 2 different protein sources with different amino acids, you can end up with then, combining the amino acids to get the 9 essential amino acids. For example, if you combine peanut butter with whole wheat bread, you'll get a complete protein source. But again, obviously it's specific on the brand you're using, on whatever, but Google's a pretty good source to see the different combinations of incomplete proteins to make a complete protein. But if I'm honest, don't stress about that. That is just, if you're a bodybuilder, maybe look at that. But this is just, just focus on the basics and do them well. But this is just have an understanding. So then again, does it matter? Well, it's not something to be overly concerned with. It's not something to, lose sleep at night about, but it's also not something to completely neglect, because if you're not eating any complete sources of protein, you are going to massively struggle with general health and also your recovery and training and performance. So, aim to have about 70 to 80% of your overall protein from complete proteins. And remembering why we need protein, and the only reason you're wanting to include all the essential amino acids is because your body needs them for function. That is literally it. And if you have a pretty varied and high protein diet, you're likely to be getting all the essential amino acids in anyway. And again, like to emphasize, don't stress about it. So then one final note. So you may have heard all the buzz about high protein diets boosting your metabolism, which is something I would love to just put a guitar through my ear for, because it is so frustrating when you see this around, because eating protein does cause you to burn more calories, but it is not anything significant. And if you're focusing on, just eating 10 chickens a day to burn more calories, but you're also walking 1,000 steps a day and not training and not looking at your sleep, then you're a fucking idiot. So anyway, well, you're not an idiot, but the place you've got that information from is idiotic. So part of our total daily energy expenditure, also known as TDEE, is the thermic effect of food. So basically what the thermic effect of food is how many calories so let's say I've eaten, let's go back to a chicken, not a whole chicken. No, let's go with the whole chicken. Let's say I've just consumed an entire chicken. How many calories does my body need to basically digest and absorb the protein from that chicken? And protein basically has the highest thermic effect of food. So basically about 20 to 30% of the calories I would get from that chicken are then used to help me digest and absorb it. As you can see, carbs are up 5 to 10% and fats are roughly 0 to 9%. Can you see as well the big ranges with these percentages? So this is something that has been studied, but they're also just not very sure. So to put that into context, that might sound 20 to 30% versus, let's say, fats of 0 to 9%. That might sound like an absolute game changer. All I'm going to eat is protein. However, to put that into a context, let's say you eat 25 grams of protein. That is 100 calories, because there are 4 calories per gram of protein. And therefore 25%, in between 20 to 30% of 100 is 25 calories. So by eating 25 grams of protein versus, I should have done a comparison here really, but so, eating 25 grams of protein eating 25 grams of protein will basically save you 25 calories versus, I'm going to put myself on the spot here, versus carbs, which let's say is 10%, is going to save you 10 calories. So, the difference between eating 25 grams of carbs and eating 25 grams of protein is 15 calories. Like, is that really something to stress about? No, like you can burn 15 calories by fidgeting with your hands a bit more in 20 minutes. So focus your efforts elsewhere, focus on increasing your NEAT, enjoying your food and being consistent and just nailing the basics, doing them well, focusing on sleep, nutrition, training, not on the thermic effect of protein. And if you ever hear anybody say protein boosts your metabolism, you can firmly decline their invitation to being your friend, because I can confirm they will probably be a supporter of a pyramid scheme, multi-level marketing, Herbalife, or Weight Watchers, or whatever. So that is everything, I believe. Yep. Hopefully that was helpful. I will be going over fats in the next one, just for kind of like the general understanding of everything. But that is everything, and I will speak to you soon.